So does the sequel of Marvel's Smallest Hero live up to the potential of titans such as Thor, Captain America, or even Iron Man?
Well, in this episode of Straight Razor in the Theater, let's see if this Goliath of a film can live up to the hype.
Hello Internet, friends, family, my fellow cinephiles, and welcome to another episode of Straight Razor in the Theater. I'm Fanboy.
And I'm the analyst.
So, a couple nights ago we saw Ant-Man and the Wasp on opening day, just like we always do, MCU film, it's always important for us. And this is our first time doing a Marvel video since the Infinity War vlog. But, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a really good film to follow up the sad, depressing film that Infinity War was. It was a complete laugh fest. It did a really good job at making you forget all of the sad things that had happened prior. And the fact that it takes place before works in its favor because not only does it take your mind off of, the sad film that you had just witnessed, but then once the ending and that post-credit scene hits, it takes you right back to it.
Yeah.
And it leaves you in a state of, pretty much. Before we get any further in there, obviously, we're going to put a spoiler alert for Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you don't want to know anything about this, you want it to be uncharted territory when you actually watch this film, click off, go watch it, and then come back. So, from this point on, spoilers. So what was your favorite part of the movie?
I really enjoyed the car chase scene with Louise.
Okay.
That was really, really cool, considering that he's always wanted to work alongside Scott and Hank, and never got the chance to. They just blew him off every single time. But without him doing what he does in that scene, they would have been screwed.
I really like the part where he's talking with Hope, and he's like, I think it'd really be really cool to have a suit. I really want a suit. I would just have a suit that didn't have any powers.
He doesn't want to be just the guy in the chair.
Right, yeah.
Guy in the chair.
Yeah, no, he wants to be out there doing stuff, and he really does get that opportunity when, Hope gets captured and Scott is, doing something else, or he's tied up doing something else. And so he tells him, hey, get one of the cars out of the Hot Wheels container. And he does. He picks up the little car with the flames on the side, and he does. He's an active participant in helping them out. Which, you could argue that he did do that in the first one, but he actually took more of an action-y kind of role. He was actually there driving and doing shit.
Yeah, he was put in danger. Like, he could have died.
Right. So, let's talk about Ghost, because Ghost was actually a really interesting villain this time around. I like the fact that she's really not a villain.
Yeah, she's one of those characters that once again shows that S.H.I.E.L.D. is tragic and corrupt.
Exactly. I like basically her whole thing is she was dealt a shitty hand because of some stuff that happened in her past. It's through no fault of her own. It falls on basically S.H.I.E.L.D., Hank Pym, and this girl's father. We don't know the exact story. We get multiple different versions of the same story. That's just one of those things that's probably never going to be answered as whose fault is whose. But she sees this as Hank Pym and, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fault. And she's trying to find a way to fix her own condition. And she doesn't care how she does it. She'll do it through any means necessary. She'll kill people.
Yeah, which, her abilities are really cool and all, except for they're not really abilities. They're side effects. For
the most part, yeah, she really doesn't have any control over her powers unless she's wearing the suit. She has a little bit more control. But other than that, it just kind of happens.
Exactly.
And the way she describes it, it makes it sound, first off, super painful. And it's one of those things that it never stops happening, unless she's in that chamber that she sleeps in.
Well, yeah, she said that basically every single cell in her body is being ripped apart and then reconnected over and over again.
Yeah, and that sounds really shitty.
Yeah, that's basically dying and then being reconstructed again and again and again.
Right.
So it's living 1,000 deaths each day and night.
And it just sounds super painful.
Exactly.
So, I mean, so in that respect, you really can empathize with her and kind of understand why she is doing the things that she is doing.
I really like the character that stands alongside her the entire time. Bill.
Oh, yeah, Bill Foster.
Yeah, Bill Foster. That was a very interesting addition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, his comic book version was Black Goliath, but in the MCU iteration, we actually get an older Bill Foster who has moved on past the whole
Goliath situation.
Right.
Which I think is really nice because he was a partner of Hank Pym, and Hank Pym is retired.
Right.
So it would only make sense that Goliath is also retired.
Right. And I like the whole back and forth between the two of them because you can tell they don't necessarily like each other. I mean, Hank Pym already doesn't really like anyone, and they've shown that in the first film, and they carried it over to Hank Pym in this film.
Yeah.
But the fact that, it's him that he has a history with, he used to be friends with him, we've not quite seen, a situation like that yet. So it was really cool to see them interact with each other, and someone who knows Hank Pym outside of just Hope and Darren and Scott.
Oh, yeah.
And someone with a different outlook, not from a family side or a mentor side, more like a friend side. Because we've never really met any older colleagues of Pym's until now.
Now, while we're still on the subject of the villains, as much as I enjoyed the characters and the different takes, I think I preferred Yellow Jacket, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Marvel's always been known for putting a different spin on their comic book characters when they translate them over to film. And I do like the way that Yellow Jacket was portrayed in the film and how he wasn't, Hank Pym.
Yeah, I liked the whole cutthroat, getting revenge type thing. And, I'm not going to take out these people because these people did nothing wrong. I just want Pym.
Right.
Give me Pym and I'll leave the rest of you alone.
Right, but he wasn't afraid to, take action against people who try to stop him.
Of course, sacrifices must be made to reach your end game goal.
Right.
And he knew this. But with Ghost, it's more about, I care about my life, I'm going to save it no matter the cost. So there's still that parallel and connection between the two villains in a way.
But it's just the reason for why they're doing it.
Yeah, which is really, really neat.
Because, yes, Ghost is kind of doing it for a type of revenge because she does blame S.H.I.E.L.D., she does blame Hank Pym for what happened to her dad, but at the same time, she's also doing it to survive. That's always her biggest thing when people are telling her she's going about this the wrong way. She says, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what it feels like, to go through this, and if I don't do this within the next few days, I'm just going to disappear out of existence completely. I'm going to die.
Yeah, she is on a time crunch. Bill Foster tells her that she only has weeks to live, if she's lucky.
Yep.
So if she doesn't go and do her only option in her mind, which is to absorb basically all the energy from Janet Van Dyne, or the original Wasp,
basically, and doing so will kill her.
Yes. At the same time, though, she argues, you don't know that.
Right, and they don't know that, and maybe it would have worked, maybe it did, but that's not a risk that Hope is willing to take.
It's not even a risk that Bill's willing to take.
No, not one bit, no, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he still respects Hank Pym.
Yeah.
That fact that, he still does care for Hank Pym. He doesn't want to see his wife that he's been trying to find for the past 20 or so years to, lose her almost immediately.
I think one of the most powerful scenes that I saw with Bill Foster is when Ghost is contemplating what her next move is going to be, and then she's like, Scott mentioned he had a daughter. He's like, if you lay one hand on that girl, I am not helping you, and I will let you die.
Yep, and I thought that was cool, because they kind of did that whole little twist thing where Bill emerges from the shadow, and you're like, oh my god, this dude's an asshole. And he does make it very convincing that he's going to be so unlikable in this entire movie. But then, not 10, 15 minutes after that is when the whole exchange about Scott's daughter takes place, and then you kind of have that, you get at ease, and you're like, oh, okay, so at least he's not sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not sick and twisted. He's not just like, yes, let's make them all suffer because they're in cahoots with Hank Pym.
No, he's helping her because he wants to help her and he knows she can do good. It's when she starts taking it towards a more sinister, more dark path that he backs up and he's like, I can't fucking handle this.
Exactly. He's not a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Sure, he worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. during a corrupt era.
I mean, but who didn't?
Exactly. But, hey, at least he's not Grant.
Right. However, let's talk about who probably could be basically the actual villain of this film. Sonny Birch. Played by Walton Goggins. So I don't think I have seen a movie with Walton Goggins in it since The Hateful Eight.
Honestly, I completely forgot that this guy existed until he started talking. I'm like, oh my god, right. No way. This dude's awesome.
I was so glad to see him there. And I mean, I knew beforehand he was going to be in the movie, but I completely forgot about it. Kind of caught me off guard. But he was probably my favorite part of that movie.
He honestly is, even though he's the main driving point of a lot of the trouble that happens in the film.
Yep.
He is one of the most comical parts of it as well. Mm-hmm. And especially the two guys that he has following him the whole time.
Yep.
Like, one of them tries to correct him at one point, and he's just like, really? Do you really have to do that in front of everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this other guy who's carrying around this serum.
Yeah.
And the whole time, everyone's telling him, dude, that's truth serum. He's like, no, it's not. Truth serum isn't real.
Right. And then at the end, when it was at the end, and they were telling everyone the truth about everything they've done, and then the guy just kind of looks and he's like, oh my god, that is truth serum.
Exactly. Just that whole realization. They sold themselves up the river. They're going to be away for a long time.
Yeah, dude. That was badass, for sure. So, talk about the post-credit scene. So, there were two post-credit scenes. Let's talk about the second one first, just because it was the small one that everyone else seemed upset to be sitting through all those credits for that one little clip. I thought it was hilarious, though. But to put some context, Scott's under house arrest, but he keeps getting dragged out of the house to go do Ant-Man stuff. So, in order to make it appear that Scott is still in the house, they get a Scott-sized ant and they put his ankle bracelet on the ant. And the ant is basically programmed to follow Scott's daily routine. And part of that routine is playing drums on Guitar Hero. And that's what the clip is the ant continuing to play Guitar Hero because it's still programmed to live out Scott's daily routine. Now, we'll talk about the actual important post-credit scene. So, the movie ends with them saving Janet, which was really, really cool seeing Janet played by Michelle Pfeiffer. We got a couple of flashback scenes throughout the film, but it was actually kind of cool to meet the actual her.
Yeah, it was nice to see both iterations of the Wasp and see how they differed in being in action.
And I like the fact that she now seems to have that healing touch ability. Yeah. That she was able to calm down Ghost's abilities so that she no longer has to be in that chamber.
Yeah, definitely. My only complaint about the original Wasp is that I was really bummed out that they didn't have the yellow design for her suit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's been in the quantum realm for, 20-something years. She's, kind of got that little Mad Max, like, out in the wilderness kind of feel.
Yeah, and I mean, it's cool. Mm-hmm. It's just, I thought it'd be nice to see that little bit of a difference. Like, okay, this is Ant-Man, this is Wasp, you can tell.
Right.
The suits just looked a little too similar.
No, I understand. That's fine.
But anyway.
So the post-credit scene starts out with them going back to the quantum realm to collect some healing particles for Ghost to continue being able to have her, not be all phasey and whatnot. And evil.
With the possible chance of a cure in time.
Right. So they send Scott into the quantum realm by himself, and this is the moment in which Thanos has snapped his fingers. So not only is Scott in the quantum realm on his own, the only people that know he's there are Hank, Hope, and Janet, and all three of them disappear.
Yeah. No word on if the rest of Scott's crew is going to.
Nothing like that. We don't know anything about Bill or Ghost in that case either. Scott, I'm assuming he didn't get affected mainly just because he was in the quantum realm. But as of right now, those three are gone. We had discussed this prior, that I thought we were going to see something similar to this. Honestly, though, I thought it was going to hit a little bit closer to home. I thought we were going to see Scott's daughter disappear. I thought we were going to see Cassie go.
Honestly, I am petrified about if he does get back, that's going to be the first thing that comes into his mind.
Well, see, the main question is, how does he get back now? And the only one that I can think of outside of Ghost and Bill being able to help, Wong.
Yes, Wong might be able to do it. And depending on how they do her powers, Captain Marvel might be able to survive a travel to the quantum realm.
That, and I didn't even think about that. And that's the next film we have coming up here in March is Captain Marvel. So that takes place in the 90s. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the most recent thing we're going to see before Avengers 4 happens. It's because Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. We're going to see a younger Nick Fury. The rumor is we're going to see how he loses his eye, which I think would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. There was one question that I had out of all of this.
And what's that?
Well, throughout the whole film, we got this character by the name of Wu.
Oh, yeah, Wu.
Who is hilarious throughout the entire film. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite moments is probably any time Wu has to check up on Scott. Mm-hmm. But, see, we were told something within Infinity War.
Okay.
And that was that both Scott and Hawkeye were under house arrest. Mm-hmm. It made me wonder, is Wu also covering Hawkeye's house arrest?
Maybe.
And if that's the case, is Hawkeye gone now, or?
I don't know. See, and that's the thing, that I was kind of hoping there would be a little bit of a, inclination of what Clint would be up to at this point.
Yeah.
But considering they haven't told us anything, I'm just going to assume that they're just going to write it off as he was under house arrest the same as Scott, and he didn't cause any problems, so maybe he got off at good behavior, and he's going to be able to come back in Avengers 4 to help.
Yeah.
Something of that sort. Since they haven't done it yet, I'm sure. Or maybe they'll have a little bit in the beginning of Avengers 4. Because I can only imagine Avengers 4 is going to be just as long, if not longer, than Infinity War. Because they're going to need a lot of time to cover all the shit they're going to need to cover and to bring back the characters that they have to bring back for the respective sequels.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that if he did, in fact, disappear like the rest with Thanos, all I'm asking for is a flashback.
Right.
Some kind of explanation. I'm not going to be happy that Jeremy Renner's not going to be a key role in that if that's the case.
Oh, I'm sure he will be. I mean, it'll be one of their last films with the original Avengers lineup. They're going to try and use as many of the actors as they can before it's all said and done. Well, I think that'll be it for this review. Avengers Assemble.
May the Force be with you.
And it's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum. Take it easy, guys.